Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Best Friends by Design podcast. We are your hosts, Janet.
And I'm Giselle.
Happy New Year, everyone. Our first episode of the year of 2024. We're really excited to be back. So, honoring the new year, we wanted to talk about the art of reinventing yourself, the metamorphosis of reinventing yourself, like a butterfly.
Because we are butterflies.
Did you know that a snake sheds its skin 3 to 5 times a year?
I did not.
That makes so much sense. Like even us as humans, right? We're continuously shedding our skin. Getting rid of toxic situations, people, things that don't serve us. And it's just, it's a process. Like you continuously go through these changes in life.
We do. Yeah. And I think the beginning of the year, it's always been a time when we kind of analyze our lives and decide what serves us and what's not serving us and how we're going to do things differently, right? We always want to evolve and improve the way we're doing things on our personal lives, in relationships, in work. I think it's a point of evaluation, right? The beginning of the year and how we're going to move forward. So today we're going to talk about how we break it down and actually stay within our goals. And what does that mean? And what does that look like?
Yeah. And starting with that blank slate that we all love.
Yes.
Right? So I guess first step is just figuring out, being clear. Like what is it that you want to change or that needs improvement in your life, and being clear on what exactly that is, right? And then from there, setting the goals.
I think what I've learned through doing it myself this year is really getting down to the nitty-gritty of being really specific in your goals, right? And that's so hard, and I couldn't believe, as goal-oriented or as focused as I am, I've had a hard time, and it has to do with the other people in my lives, whether it's our podcast or with Brett or even our businesses that we have going on. Is you have other people involved, so you got to make sure that not only are your goals aligned, but that their goals are aligned with yours, and getting really specific on what you're going to be achieving. Because when you look at your calendar year, right, you have 12 months. And I can't believe we're already almost at the end of January. I mean, it's like already going by so fast. When you break it down, you only have so much time to achieve your yearly goals, right? And then how do you stay focused and motivated? And a big reason is you have to ask yourself the why. Why are you setting these goals? And what does that look like? And how does that not only work with your short-term goals of the year, but also how does it look like your lifetime goals? And part of what I'm realizing is, in evaluating this for myself, is how much my goals have changed throughout my lifetime, right? And I think that happens to all of us. It's like we work so hard for something, whatever that is, whether it is a goal that we have to get published or a goal that we have on our personal fitness goal. And let's say we don't achieve that because of ABC reasons, but I realized that part of that has to do with also your faith and your spirituality, because we all believe that certain things don't come to fruition because it wasn't meant for us. But during the journey, you learn so much about yourself, or you learn so much about the people around you, right? So I think that's part of the kindness that I've learned to show myself, is in understanding that it's not only dependent on me. It's depending on making sure, as the leader of my family, as the leader of our business, that I not only communicate with the people around me what my goals are, but making sure they're in line. And they point out different things that are like, okay, Giselle, but maybe that's not so achievable this year. Maybe it's more achievable next year. Right.
So you have to be like measurable about your goals. Like it can seem daunting to like, okay, where do I want to be in 2025? Like next year. like going a year forward or 5 years from now. You're like, anything can happen in the next 5 years. How about starting like measurable short term goals that are attainable? Like maybe this month I'm going to shoot for going to the gym 3 days a week or 2 days a week. Let's start. And then from there, then you got that and you got your rhythm in. Let's start at a third day, or then, little by little, and you just like set goals for yourself that you can actually achieve, and then you reward yourself and you feel good and you feel like you're making progress, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise that's why a lot of people give up.
Yeah.
Because they'll beginning of the year starts, they get on a diet, or they go to the gym, they don't see progress because they're not being consistent enough, and they give up. And then it's like, okay, by like March, it's like they're back on the sofa, watching TV, eating chips. They're not getting up in the morning. They're sleeping through their alarm clock. So it's a part of like setting goals for yourself that you can actually reach and that are reasonable.
I think that
and realistic.
I think having fun while you're doing it is really important. I mean, we grew up in a generation that it was like we had to be super women at everything.
Yeah.
And what I've learned through this whole process is it's so important to have fun while you're doing it and do it with the people you enjoy. Because, for instance, with our podcast, I love the fact that I have a sense of responsibility to you. So it makes me attain my goals even quicker because I know that there's certain things I'm good at, there's certain things that you're good at, and we can do it as a team. But when we're doing it together, I do have a sense of responsibility. Maybe that I would be more lax if it was just the Giselle podcast versus the, Best Friends by Design podcast.
The Giselle show.
Right, the Giselle show. Maybe I wouldn't be.
Sometimes it is the Giselle show.
So I've been told. So I've been told. I have a lot to say.
I know, it's okay. I love it.
I have a lot to say. But you get my point. My point is that I think you probably feel the same way. Yeah. We're like, and we've talked about that, we're more lax when it's just something that we have to look at ourselves for responsibility. But when you have somebody else relying on
holding you accountable.
Exactly. And sometimes people need that accountability, and they need that something to look forward to, have fun. Like I work out with you, I do the yoga with you, I do it with Brett, and it's something that now we look forward to, but we also have done things to kind of set ourselves up for success. So like on Sunday, we book the yoga sessions for the week now.
Yeah.
And even our weight training, we set it up for the week, and we even put what body parts, and even like our yoga bag is already set up with everything that we need. So it makes it easier really early in the morning to achieve that. And those are things that we all can do to make our things easier, and the same thing, it comes whether it's with your house or your office. When you set your environment in a way that supports your goals. And what I mean by that is it could be as simple as setting up your closet, your work clothes closet, where you have all of your work outfits set up. Like if you have a meeting with a client, or your work bag set up, makes your life easier, and it makes you want to wake up in the morning and not feel so stressed. Because if your life is in disarray or in a mess, you feel a mess. Yeah. But if you have everything nice and organized
and set up for yourself, and having your and just writing everything down, there's such power to that. Whether it's journaling or on your notes, on your phone, just like write down those goals that you have, and new ones will come up. Always, you're always adding more to your list, and it's like a life list, like this is what I want to tackle this week. This is what I want to tackle today. This is what I want to tackle this month, and just like little things. And before you know it, you're like checking these things off, and you're feeling like you're winning. Like, wow, like I got this done, and you didn't even realize it. It's just, you're just building that momentum to get things done and to stay consistent with it. Consistency is everything.
I agree. And also having like again, having the right people around you to support your goals.
Yeah.
We met with our accountant this week, and we had an amazing conversation, and she even brought up some ideas and some things that we should be doing that I hadn't thought of. My meeting with her was to talk about our business goals and evaluate last year's profit and losses and the whole analysis of that, and then how can we do it better this year. But she pointed out, hey, let me analyze your personal tax returns as well and your personal finances to kind of give a full structure budget. And I hadn't really thought about that, and it had been a while since we had done our living trust and all of that. So when she mentioned that, I love that, because it does need to be evaluated and it does need to be looked at, and having the professionals around you to support you. And what we decided to do to kind of make sure that we stay on the game plan that we are talking about at the beginning of this year is every month we're going to be meeting and evaluating, whether it could be just a short Zoom meeting or something, but just to make sure it's not just at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, but that we're through this year, we are holding ourselves accountable to all the structures and the goals that we're trying to achieve.
Right. And in business, it's paramount, because we already know how much we need to bring in our businesses just to cover operational expenses on a monthly basis. But then maybe you want to add another team member, or you want to take your team member on a trip, at the end of the year, or you want to give yourself a bonus or everyone else a bonus, it's having that already mapped out, so that in your mind, in your head, you know what you need to focus on, and how many clients can you handle, per month, per year. How many do you need? How much do you have to collect in design fees? How much, maybe it's, adjusting your hourly rates, adjusting your purchasing, your purchasing fee, your percentage.
Yeah.
Sometimes those little adjustments will keep you in line with your financial goals.
And also too, evaluating is what you're doing giving you joy?
Yeah.
And giving you the fulfillment that you want.
Yeah.
And I know so many interior designers that have been doing this a long time, and they've had to reevaluate how they do their business because they're in burnout mode. And now they're looking to focus more on their licensing deals, or maybe doing more design consultation and then having other people execute the work. I mean, it has so many different forms. We could do what we love, but sometimes we get so stuck in the way we've done it for so many years that it's hard for us to now get into this new phase. But, like I always say, we're not promised tomorrow. So we need to live the best life and do it as much as we can in a way that we enjoy it and we find fulfillment. And that changes all the time, just like the snakes, like the same
the
snakes shedding
its skin.
Right. One of the big things that I did this year to help organize our family and our business too is when are we taking vacations? There's certain things we know we're going to go to, salone. And we start implementing those things right away into our calendar.
Yeah, if you don't do that from the beginning, you just get stuck in work mode, and all these other things come up, and then that goes by the wayside, and you need that time off.
Well, you need that.
Yeah, everybody needs a break.
Well, you need that time. Number one, you need something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
We're taking a trip in February that is kind of like a workation, I want to say. It's going to be work, but it's going to be fun. But it's something that we have to look forward to. Well, not only does that help with giving you something to look forward to, but it also helps to structure your business, because if you're going to be out of town, then you're able to tell your staff, hey, we have this client happening. I need for you to take responsibility of X, Y, Z. And then for us, having kids in college that we want to spend time with, and with their schedules being so different because they go to 2 different schools, I also need to do planning with them as well, because I have to plan things way ahead of time. And going to even how that financially affects us is, the sooner you book your flights, the easier it is to get the best rates. The easiest way it is to get the hotel that you really want to be
Especially now.
using
You
your
have to
points.
book ahead.
Right, using your points. All of that. So you're making the best choices because I don't know about you, but I don't want to throw away my money.
No, of
I
course not.
I want to do things smart.
Yeah. And also, if you know you're going to take a vacation, let's say you're taking 2-3 weeks off in the middle of the summer, you have to make sure that one of your projects, that's not your installation date or your delivery date, your final delivery.
Exactly.
And that way you can communicate that with your clients. Like, look, we either have to start the project now so that we finish before then because I'm not going to be here. And you, of course, you want to be there. Your team can handle a lot of it, but you should be there because anything can come up. You know how it is.
And I don't know about you, but that I get so much joy
At the final end. That's my favorort part.
It's Christmas.
Exactly.
The vision of your work is coming to life. So it's if not my favorite part of the job.
I would not be able to be on vacation, enjoy my vacation, knowing that my project is being completed it's at the end. So yes, we want to plan ahead and make sure that, we know when is going to be a good time to travel, when's a good time to be, in the office and just give yourself that break that you're going to need, Like last year I didn't go on a vacation. I probably took 2 weekends off. Like, what was that? I was by November, I was completely burned to a crisp, and it's because I didn't plan ahead. And no, by the time I said, okay, that's it, I need to get away, then you go and it's like, airfares through the roof, and hotels are so expensive. So definitely that's one of my goals for this year is to like plan my trips. February, now we're going to do the Cosentino trip, which is great. We're going to go to Cabo.
I'm glad we're going to get to
really
share that together.
For that. Then, Italy in April, and hopefully I can, plan another one, maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah. And then I have my 50th birthday in August. So we've already started planning for that.
Yeah.
And then Brett's 60th.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe it?
So 2 milestone birthdays in 1 year. Yeah. That's great.
So
are you going to celebrate together?
We are, but we've decided not to do like a big party or anything like that. We're going to be traveling. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. For us, it is. We find so much joy and inspiration.
You can still do parties,
and we'll do like little things here and there with our different group of friends. But I don't. Maybe something will change. Who knows? But right as of now,
you'll get inspired.
Yeah. I'm moody that way. Right now, I just feel like enjoying the travel part of it, and then kind of. Also, too, like when you're planning a big party, I have different group of friends, and they're kind of a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to mix them all together.
Yeah.
Let's say. I know. I'm sure we all have.
It could be challenging sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would get along, but like I don't necessarily know if I want to like put my family, let's say, with my friends in a big party.
I've always liked separating
yeah.
my celebrations.
Yeah.
And
so
just making them more intimate. More of them.
But this big milestone that we're going through too is a big deal about setting goals as well. Talk about changing your mind. Originally we thought by now we would be kind of on retirement mode, right? And we're far from it.
Yeah. You still have a while for retirement.
Yeah, we're far from retiring.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we've gotten into these different ventures, and that's what I want to share is the fact that you think you might have one goal at one point of your life, but we've been blessed with good health and good energy and feeling very creative and very inspired that now our goals look very differently. And because we're not planning to retire anytime soon, what we've learned is the daily grind has to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
So our office space, who we invite into our world is so important, because every day we want it to count. We want it to be special. And we wanted to do it because we've chosen this life, not because we're obligated to live it because financially we have to, you know? So that's part of the whole
That's a
trick.
big part of it, though.
Of
You know,
course.
is keeping up with the lifestyle that you love and that you want to keep.
Absolutely.
You know, talk about like keeping yourself in check, right? Because you're probably at the age where you know the kind of life you want to live, right?
Yeah.
You know what that looks like. You've had a taste of it, you know, and you can slow it down, take it back, and readjust, or you can just keep it where it is, or it's your little sweet spot, or bigger. But that means you got to work harder for that, because it's not just going to come to you, obviously, right? You got to like make it happen.
That's when having those conversations with your significant other comes into play, because as you know, I'm super hyper and I have these huge dreams and huge aspirations and huge goals. But like, is it really fair to ask my soon to be 60-year-old husband, right? I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
As good as he looks, as healthy as he is, as energetic as he is, do those goals align?
Right.
And that's been kind of a really important thing for us to constantly communicate. And I don't even know if we have the right answers right now, but I know that we have to continuously check with ourselves, because I've realized that it evolves and it changes. What I never saw myself living in Miami, in the city. Even our kids, the kids were like all about being in the city, and that was part of their college experience, that one wanted to be in New York and Boston to experience. And now they come back and they're like, Mom, we really don't like the city, and we really don't necessarily love Miami. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We just moved here. What's going on here? And now they're like, Mom, we really love nature. We love the national state parks. They want a very different life. Well, if I want them to be part of our lives, I need to adjust my goals as well. So now we're talking about having, you know, a second home in more of a rural area. And I want to put a place, buy a place that they're going to want to come with their future wives and their future families. It's important to that, and that is key, I think, in making sure that not only you're happy, but that your family is happy, and also your staff, because all of our goals continuously change. And as our world and the pressure of our world and these wars and everything else that's happening, I think people are deciding, do we really want our lives to look like this? Yeah. Do our goals align with everything that's happening in the world as well?
Yeah, and what it costs to live a certain life now at this stage, you know, because it's not getting any cheaper, that's for sure.
It's not, but also the cost emotionally, physically, because when you're going at it this hard, the way we are, there is a price we all pay for it. So that's part of also evaluating with yourselves. Yeah. Does this align with the peace that I want in my life, in my health journey? Is it too much? And in the past, I've tended to put too much on my plate. Right. And then I'm like, oh shit, what did I get myself into?
Right. And yeah, because, you know, you want to keep up with the demand that you put on yourself and that the world throws at you. But doesn't mean you necessarily want to have to hustle now harder, especially as you get older. You know, it's like it's a give and take, right?
It is.
And it's just giving yourself the space to be understanding and be patient also with the process too.
Yeah.
And just listening to what feels good. Like if getting on that grind and hustling isn't in you anymore, then it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Yeah.
I know in my 20s and even in my 30s, it was like work harder, you know, like now I'm like, I got to work smarter. I definitely don't want to work harder. I want to work smarter. That is for sure. So whether it's finding other streams of income, finding other ways to make money and saving and building a little nest egg, like just being smarter with all the decisions I make every day financially, so that I'm not feeling like I'm not growing, or that I need to work harder, or that I need to take jobs that aren't going to fulfill me just because I need to
pay the bills.
To pay the bills. Taking projects that don't align or that I know aren't going to bring me joy, that aren't going to bring, spark that creativity. Because that happens, you get a client or a prospective client and you're looking at this project and you're thinking about what they want or what the project is about, and you're just kind of inside you're do I really want this? But then you're thinking, shit, I don't have anything in the pipeline that maybe this is a good one or this will be profitable. It's making those decisions, what's really important, my creativity, my happiness, and is this going to fulfill me? Is this going to be something I'm proud of, or is it just to pay the bills?
Mm-hmm. And I think so many times we get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of the day to day, where we're not running our lives. Our lives are running us. And that's why continuously setting up ways to check to make sure that your vision is aligned with what you're doing constantly is so important.
Yeah.
And it's not something that it's a once a year thing. It's a constant evaluation of where you're at. And also, too, I don't know about you, but for a long time, seeing all these success stories, right, on social media, kind of made me feel oh my God, I'm not doing enough. It's we got to stop that nonsense. We got to stop the noise. And maybe that's a detox on social media.
Oh yeah.
For a while.
I did, my January has been my
Your detox.
My Instagram detox. I know the algorithm hates me right now, and I'm probably, but I just feel like I need a break. And, it's really important because we're so saturated with information, and it's just, you see so much. And a lot of times when you open your phone and you're looking and you start scrolling, and in the back of your mind, you're subconsciously, it may be things that bring you into a negative place without you even realizing it, And that's when I start unfollowing certain accounts, because it's this is not doing anything good for me. I'd rather follow those accounts that make me feel inspired and make me feel good every time I open this, or something, I have a takeaway of some sort, it's important to just kind of quiet the noise around you, and especially with social media, just so that you can keep yourself centered. And you have to create your own, your own inspiration comes from within sometimes. You know what I mean?
I do. And we gotta shut down the noise and evaluate what's important for yourself. And there's so many tools out there. To me, the yoga, doing the hot yoga first thing in the morning,
I love
as much as I hate it for my hair, because a glove could blow out, but I've said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna wear my hair back. I know it sounds so silly, but that's how us women are, right? We have, exactly.
Yeah.
But to me, yoga helps me quiet my mind. It helps me reevaluate myself for the day. And that's something that I really suggest for everyone to do it, not only for your mental well-being, but also your flexibility. And it's such a way to connect with your spirit and with your soul. And it's done tremendous good for both of us, and even with my relationship with Brett, because it's something that we're doing together as a couple, and it's something that we're able to share the peace and calmness that it brings with us. And I think when you're aligned with your partner in that way, it puts you closer.
Both of you.
Yeah, it puts you closer, and as something as simple as doing something like that creates a domino effect for the rest of all the things that we're planning and doing, and even for the rest of our day. But going back to that, it's so interesting to me, and it's something I wanted to share our own experience. How many conversations have we had about recently about like our finances, right? We've been kind of evaluating our personal and business finance, and one of the things that we've talked about recently is how this overindulgence that we've done, throughout the years, this
collection of stuff.
That's just weighing us down, right?
Yeah.
And how it makes us feel a little bit. It like, God, that money we could have saved it, or do we really need, a gazillion shoes and a gazillion purses and all of that waste, and
excess.
Excess, right?
Excess that you just really don't need.
Right, and it's for us.
But
I think,
the new trends come out and it's so bright and shiny and pretty, and you're like, oh, I'd look good in that. And it's kind of like that tug and pull, right? Of like, of do I need it? Do I want it? And like at the end of the day, I have a closet full of clothes. I can never find anything to wear.
Yeah.
And handbag collection that I use the same one every day.
Right.
Like, why? I start looking at it like I don't need anything else. This is just like.
Well, and also I think we're at the stage right now that we're trying to find lasting fulfillment, not temporary fulfillment that we get from all these temporary highs, right?
And a lot of times it's because there's something in your life that's lacking, and you're making it up by like. Retail therapy. There's a reason for that why they call it that, because it's like, okay, like I'm feeling down, I'm feeling bad, like I'm just gonna go and like buy myself something. It's like a little temporary high. Makes you feel good. And then all these little temporary highs, before you know it, number one, it affects your bank account, and you're spending all this money where you could be saving it and doing, or like putting it away for something, a trip that you want to take, or something else more important that'll give you more fulfillment. And it's crazy how that happens. It's just like filling a void almost.
It is.
Which is another thing about reinventing yourself, aside from goal setting. Like what other areas of your life are you feeling that needs a shift, that you want to reinvent? Your personal life, like your personal things, your personal baggage and your personal shit, your marriage is falling apart, your friendships are falling apart. How do you like navigate that? You've been there.
I have. Well, and I mean, I've been there because of my divorce.
Yeah.
And now I'm going through it even with my marriage, because remember, I met Brett when I was in my 20s. I'm going to be 50 years old. I'm not the same woman he met.
Yeah.
And sometimes I catch myself changing, and I surprise my own self. So how is this poor guy supposed to keep up if I can't keep up with my own self in the evolution of who I am? And now not only am I changing, he's changing as well. Our dynamics are changing. The way we communicate is changing. My priorities are changing. So it's constant communication if we want to stay in a happy marriage. And that's constant. It's constant. And that's been the biggest lesson that I've learned, is like
growing together. Yeah.
And also realizing like I'm really enjoying sometimes my alone time. When you start really liking yourself, because we love ourselves, but do you like who you really are? Yeah. When you start liking yourself, you want to be alone with yourself more often. And I'm finding myself that's become a priority for me, is having my alone time, having time to like regroup and really just stop and not always be in the hustle and bustle. Just think.
Drown out the noise and just like go within.
I know you're good at that.
Yes. I need that. That's like for me, my self-therapy. It's my self-therapy. I have to check in with myself all the time, because I'm like, it's just so many things. Sometimes it's hard to control, and it's hard to like get a grasp of it. Like, okay, like get it together.
Yeah.
Figure this out. What's get to the core of it. Like, what's the issue here?
Yeah.
Why are you feeling this way, this certain type of way? Is it a person? Is it an environment? You know, like the energy is stagnant. You know, have you ever felt like the energy just feels stale? Like, I don't know, like you're kind of like in this limbo state. You know, that's when you realize maybe I need to work on myself, like spirituality, like tap into that part.
That's a big
You
one
know,
for me.
forget the working and the this and you know, my marriage and my relationships and my business, you know, and start going within and seeing, okay, what is it that I need to shift here? Because if you're not there energetically, and there's no way you can align yourself with your goals if you're not aligned within,
I agree.
right?
And I think that's one of the hardest things to do is really be specific with your goals. And that's something that I've been talking to you about. Like, oh my God, how can, like, I was working on our vision board. How can our visions come to life if we don't even know? Like, I mean, you have to get down to the nitty gritty of being so specific of what your goal is. I mean, you're supposed to really visualize it and see it to every degree. So,
Or act as if, like
right.
they say, like as if it's already there. So that being said, how is it going so far for you? Like your goals that you've set, are you clear on what you want this year to look like?
Not really.
And is there like, how do you plan to reinvent yourself? Do you feel like you've already started that path, or is it something that you're setting yourself up for this year?
I think I'm still like evaluating what I want the rest of the year to look like. I do feel like turning 50 is definitely a huge milestone. That huge, right?
Yeah.
Like, how the hell did this happen? How am I 50?
I don't know.
I still feel like I'm in my, I want to say, God, in my 30s, but not mentally or emotionally. I have the maturity,
Right.
that of somebody that's turning 50 years old.
Yeah, which is great.
It's great, but I don't feel that way. I still feel like playful, joyful. I feel like I tune into my young self all the time.
Oh, yeah, for
you know,
sure.
like,
Yeah, me too. I feel immature sometimes.
I
and
feel
love
extremely
it. It keeps
mature.
me young.
Right. I'm a jokester, you know, I love to laugh and all of that. So when I always pictured people that were in their 50s, I always pictured them like super old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
Middle age,
out of shape. You know, that was the
There's
vision.
such a bad stigma. There's such a negative stigma
There is.
behind it, but it's great because the 50s the new 40s and 40s and 30s, as they say, you know?
My goal for turning 50 was to be at the best health of my life. So one of some of the things I've done is I contacted my hormone doctor and I said, you know, did my blood work, and they did the whole analysis on it, you know, checked my testosterone, all of that, because in order to be my healthiest version of myself, I got to make sure all my numbers are right.
Of course.
So he's like, what do you want to do with your body? What's your goal? And I'm like, well, I want to be ripped. I'm like, okay, I lost the
I already told you what you need to do to get ripped. You don't need a hormone doctor to tell you.
Well, but they do help. Now,
Yes,
they do help.
well, yeah.
So he came up with some suggestions and some supplements and some things I can do. I actually just recently got the paperwork on Friday, so I gotta look at it and see what I gotta do my research, see what I'm gonna implement, what I'm not, make sure it doesn't counteract with my thyroid. I have hypothyroid issues and all of that. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm doing this year is like evaluating. I want to be cut. I want to have a 6-pack. It's already coming in, so I'm really happy about that. I want to show people like 50 does not have to be the 50 we thought of.
And everything you've learned and you've experienced, your failures, your successes. You know, you mentor me all the time. How many times do we do our therapy sessions?
I know.
You know, because you've been in certain parts of, you know, times in your life where maybe I'm going through them or something similar, that you can share insights of what I may not see because it's in front of me, and but it's like you're giving me kind of like helping me, guiding me along, Like I love Mel Robbins. I love her, by the way.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She actually has a book called The Art of Reinvention, which is great. And she looks at reinventing yourself like your life. It's like the analogy she uses is it's a journey. You're driving. Like imagine yourself driving, right? And when you're driving your car, this is the journey that you're on, and this is the path that you're on, you're looking forward, right? When you drive, you have this huge windshield, and you have your rear view mirror though that's looking back. You can't drive and go forward while you're looking back at your rear view mirror. There's a reason why the rear view mirror is this small, because you're not meant to look back. You're meant to look forward. And like whatever changes and like detours that you make in life, like it's part of the journey. You know what I mean? And it's part of finding your way through. But it's always being forward thinking, And sometimes we don't realize what's in front of us, and we're so stuck on, oh my God, what just happened or what's happening now, that it's like hard for us to see what's in front of us. And when you have someone that can like kind of guide you or help you or give you a little bit of insight as to, look, I've been there, like everything's going to be okay. Like life is going to look better. This is a great change for you. You may not see it now, but this is what's on the other side of it. It feels good. And I think using your wisdom and everything that you've gone through in your life in these 50 years to help someone who may be going through it, I think that's beautiful. That's priceless,
I think that's why it's so important that you have a good mix of friends. I like to have some people younger than me, some people that are my age that I could relate to, and some older people as well, because I think it gives you balance.
Yeah.
The young people get to show you their new brave way of thinking. I was just talking to actually my son's girlfriend, and I love how fearless they are, right from the get-go. They won't even allow people to ask them questions in an interview that they find they object to. We were talking about that. I think they were saying that there's a Mean Girl reboot, new movie, and they were saying that the actress, I guess, was asked questions, and she's like, normal weight, but she wasn't as skinny as the original actress, and she was like, every time somebody would ask her about her weight, about how she looked, she wouldn't have it. And we were having that conversation, and how brave these young women are. So to me, I admire that.
Yeah, because our generation was full of fear.
Our generation
and hang-ups and like
exactly. And I was telling her, who she's in her early 20s. I was saying, you have to understand, when we were being interviewed at the beginning of my career, we had to watch our P's and Q's, and you kind of had to be polite because you weren't competing with other women. Most likely you were competing with men who were favored. Now this generation has a different set of obstacles and different set of challenges, but it's different than ours. So I'd love to hear that. The older generation will be the ones who tell me, the ones that I have clients in their 70s or friends that are in their 70s, and they'll be like, don't run. It's bad for your joints. Stop doing all of that hard cardio. It's the biggest mistake we did. Do more yoga. Your flexibility is so important, and all of that, but also their history as well. What their generations went through, like fighting through the 60s, and now seeing some of the same issues they dealt with reappear in our generation. The same obstacles. Why are we not learning from our past, right? So I think it's really important to have a good balance. And then I feel that any challenges that I went through made me who I am today. And it makes who you are, and who you're evolving to. And sometimes the biggest heartaches that we go through and the ones that rip you apart that you don't think you're going to survive is what makes us stronger. And you'll become that inspiration. Just remember that any pain you go through, any heartache, or even any huge successes, they're temporary. So whether you're going through a hard time or through a huge success, you can't think that that's going to last very long. What lasts are the relationships that you have, the relationship you have with yourself and the love you put into yourself and the relationships you choose to keep near. And those change all the time. Because if you keep the same people around you that maybe aren't aligned with your belief system and are helping you, they can weigh you down. Or might not realize how much they're hurting you. So that's a constant evaluation, and these conversations are good to have with people that come from a loving place. They want the best for you. They are rooting for you, and not everybody's like that. Not everybody wants to root for you or see you succeed. Why? Because we live in a world where it's like, wait a minute, I want what she has. No, you don't want what she has, because you don't know are you willing to pay
gone through to get that?
Or are you willing to pay the price that she's paying for?
Right.
What appears to be beautiful and gorgeous, what price? And perfect at what cost? So just remember that everything that looks beautiful and gorgeous, whatever, you might not want to pay the price that person's paying or dealing with.
Love that.
Yeah, so
that's true.
In order to keep it real, constantly evaluate yourself and decide, does this bring me happiness? The why, that's one of the Mel Robbins. She's like, make sure you know the why of why you're doing things and why you're even wanting that to achieve that goal. Because it could be coming from a place of just frivolous bullshit, of ego. We don't want to be in the ego. We want to be in a place of true fulfillment. And that's why when we talk about our goals, spirituality becomes such a big part of it, because if you're living in this place of ego and trying to keep up with the Joneses, you're not going to have the proper fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's why...
And it's temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary.
It's not going to last. And it's not going to fill you. It's not going to fill your cup. It's not going to get you the end result that you may think. True happiness, really is what everybody wants at the end of the day.
Recently I went to a funeral, and as sad as funerals are, they're also it gives me a chance to people are summing up somebody's life in a conversation. Standing up, of course it made me think of you, because one of the person who passed away, it was Brett's aunt, and two of her best friends that had a very different perception of his aunt than the rest of the family did, and a very different experience went up,
because they knew her in a different way.
They knew her in a different way, and they were two older ladies, and they were talking about her experience. But it was a matter of a couple minutes, summing up their whole 50 years of friendship, or I think it was even longer.
Wow.
Years of friendship, and it just really made me think, like, wow, the daughter went up, and the brother-in-law went up, and the friend went up, right? And you're summing up somebody's life, and it really does give me perspective. I'm like, what do I want my people to say about me? And they're never going to talk about how successful I was in B&G or any other ventures. They're going to talk about what experience they had with me. How was I able to fulfill them? And that really put things in perspective for me, because I've always been a very goal oriented and always like checking off the boxes. And how do we perceive success, right? Do we perceive it as a bank account? Do we perceive it as what we're wearing, what we have in our closets, what car we're driving? When at the end of the day, when we're in a box getting buried, and really what
you brought to the world,
how
you made people feel.
How did we make people feel? What difference did we bring? What are we leaving as our legacy, right?
Yeah.
So when we're setting these goals up for ourselves, whether it's the yearly goal, the monthly goal, or the temporary goal, we also have to think of what is our goals as our life? What does our life look like? And what do we want to leave as our legacy? What kind of mark do we want to leave?
Yeah.
So when we're setting these up, I think it's important to think of that as well.
Absolutely. Very important. Yeah. Love that.
Right?
Yeah.
It definitely, what is our legacy? What does that look like?
Yeah.
My legacy, one of my legacies is my children. And when I speak to younger parents and they're talking about the way they're raising their daughters or their sons, I always refer to my relationship with my sons, because it's so different. And I always advise them, empower them with as much of the simple things that these kids aren't learning how to do, like how to cook, how to take care of themselves. The conversations I'm having with Max lately that he's in town has been, he's not one to get up and make his bed or have his routine. And I'm observing that. And I've wanted to let him kind of chill because, Brett and I are so OCD about how we do things.
You can't crack the whip when he's visiting you for a weekend.
No, but he's
be like, make your pet to this. And it's going to be like.
Right. It's too much. But this trip has been longer because he's getting ready to go to his abroad program in Florence. So he's been with us longer. So we've been cooking together and I've been seeing the day-to-day. And I have to say, watching all the work that we've put into it, teaching him how to cook, teaching him life skills, and seeing him implement them has brought so much joy and so much reward for me. And then I'm like, okay, he achieved this. Now I could push him to do some other things. So the conversation we have, I'm like, listen, the way to honor yourself every day is you get up, you make your bed. And he's like, Mom, I don't think that's so important. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Because you know what? That's going to make him a better partner to his future, whoever he ends up with, a better father, something that he passes on and teaches his children. So yes, it is very important. It starts from the top, and then it like.
And my big thing with him, I want him and I want my children and our listeners to know the importance of how you set the day. It's a way to honor yourself and love yourself. You're showing yourself self-love by waking up and honoring your routine and your habits, because you're saying, I am worthy of coming home to a beautiful bed.
Right.
Or a clean room.
A clean home. Organized.
How I look at myself. So that was another topic that I came up because I felt he was ready for that. And he was ready to receive it. And that's one of the biggest things with children too, or with anybody you speak to. You can't bring things up to them unless they're ready to receive the information. And that's part of, as hyper as I normally am, I've learned to just sit, observe, and then when somebody's ready to receive the information is when I'm willing to offer it and to share my experience and my wisdom. And I think that's a key thing as a parent, because timing is everything when you really want your message to be received well.
Yeah, otherwise they'll be like,
shut up, Mom, don't bother me.
Yeah, like you're nagging. Stop telling me what to do. Yeah, it's tiny.
But how important is that in our relationships too? Like we go to sit down and have a conversation with our spouse, right? Mm-hmm. Or with our partner, and the timing is completely off.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find the right timing for them to receive that information.
And sometimes it's just never the right time.
So what do?
You just have to make it the right time, And sometimes when you wait for the right time, it's usually too late when you're having the conversation.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a heavy conversation that needs to be had and you've been holding it off because it's never the right time. By the time you have that conversation, it's too late.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid.
And just do the hard work. Listen, the best probably the best advice I've given you is like, you have to honor yourself, have those hard conversations, but it's better to do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because the price you pay from holding on, you rot inside, holding on and carrying all that weight.
Part of you is dying.
Exactly.
It's dying a slow death. That's what it feels like.
So what are you doing different this year in order to break through all of that and bring in this, shed that skin and go into this new version of yourself?
Yeah, well, just...
You've had the hard conversation.
Yeah, just, finding happy. That's it. In my business, in my personal life, just finding what makes me authentically happy.
Do you know what those things are, or how it looks like?
I'm working on that. I'm working on that. It's always changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the grass is never greener on the other side. And I'm 100% super conscious of that. So I'm never like, oh, I don't want this, I want that. Because you never know. What you may think is better or a better outcome may not be. But you have to just have faith in yourself and be okay with like any decision that you make. It may be the wrong one, may be the right one, but I think that we know
in our gut,
intuitively, we know what the next step needs to be. And I just need to like follow my intuition. I always end up kicking myself every time I don't do it. And so my goal really is to like just align myself spiritually and just follow my intuition and let it guide me through all these like whatever difficult times there is. It's like that moral compass, like let it guide me and not be scared.
And I'll be right beside you along the way. And you'll be beside me, for this journey that we have. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, for our listeners, is work on your friendships. Those are the ones that are going to help you sustain your hard times. And you don't need too many friends. You need one good friend.
Yeah.
That's a good listener, that really loves you, that really wants the best for you, that when they give advice to you,
and that holds you accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And helps you move forward. I think voicing your goals to the people that are around you, that love you and that support you and that are going to help you achieve them is so important. Because I used to try to do things by myself because I was like, I didn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
I had been through such hard times that like I had put this wall up.
Yeah.
And, being let down by such important people in my life created that wall for me. And I've had to like chisel it away because then I don't let anybody in.
Yeah.
So it's important to have the people that you love, believe in love, believe in humanity. Mm-hmm. And it's hard when you've been let down over and over.
And embrace the journey.
Yeah.
Just keep driving.
Yep.
Keep driving forward and don't look back.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it.
It was great.
It was. And you know what, guys?
I hope we inspired some of you, or hopefully this resonated with one of you or some of you, and keep setting those goals.
And know that we're here. We'd like to keep it real and share our authentic, real stories with you. And I hope you guys are able to take these messages away. Please ask us questions. Let us know what topics you want us to cover. We're here to do this together. So guys, thank you for coming on another year of our journey. And I hope you will enjoy the ride with us.
So thanks again for being here. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. If you are on Spotify, please leave us a quick review and let us know how we're doing. Until next time, bye.